Now, I watched Star Trek First Contact recently, and oh my god, Zefram Cochrane is such a huge fraud. Such a huge fraud. It was the black woman that created Warp Drive. He was just a pilot. They were partners, yes, but she was the one that created Warp Drive. He was just the pilot. But somehow he's getting adulation. He's getting all the rewards, all the praise. It's like, oh my goodness. That's typical. That's typical of our history now. Our history is so whitewashed, it's unbelievable. Black people didn't do anything in history, but who's telling the story? Oh, it's white people telling the story. So it's like, well, it's not surprising that they would try to like push us out of history, and they pushed this woman out of history. Clearly, it's not Zefram Cochrane that created Warp Drive. He was the pilot. That's all. Okay, they were together, but he was the pilot, she was the engineer. And there's so many examples that tell you this in the movie.
We gotta get to the Phoenix!
To hell with the Phoenix.
To hell with the Phoenix? Isn't that your pride and joy, your baby? No, it's her pride and joy, it's her baby. That's why she is going to protect it. You understand? He doesn't care, he's just the pilot. And he's actually scared about actually doing what she's asking him to do. But the thing is that they're probably making a lot of money. He's going to get a lot of money from this. And of course, she's financed by somebody. But the thing is that it's her baby. She's the one that's responsible for Warp Drive. But yet, he's the one that gets credit for it.
Commander LaForge, we need to bring a team down here.
Hold your fire! We're here to help you!
Bullshit!
You see, now if Zefram Cochrane actually designed the Phoenix and actually the warp engine, then you think he would be the one that would be protecting it. But he's not. She is. Because she's the one that designed it and built the warp engine. She's the one that's responsible. That's why she's there to protect it. Zefram Cochrane is nowhere to be in sight.
They're amazing. This ship used to be a nuclear missile.
It is an historical irony that Dr. Cochrane would choose an instrument of mass destruction to inaugurate an era of peace.
Trust me, Zefram Cochrane is not that deep. This guy's a drunken pilot. Okay, what's ironic is that they're so well advanced in the future, but yet they're still whitewashing. That's historically ironic. They're still whitewashing. Oh, we got rid of poverty, we got rid of this, we got rid of that, but you still have whitewashing. That's hilarious.
Here's the good stuff.
Dr. Cochrane.
To the Phoenix. May she rest in peace.
May the Phoenix rest in peace. That's interesting. He doesn't even know if it's destroyed or damaged. He's just hoping that it is. He's just wishing that it is because he doesn't want to fly her. But the thing is that he was only a pilot. He didn't care about her. The black woman is the one that cared about her because she's the one that developed her and Warp Drive. You understand? So what is this about? And when you go online, you hear nothing about this. You hear nothing about this, but it's so obvious in the movie. It's so obvious that this guy had nothing to do with Warp Drive. Flying it, yes. Warp Drive, no. He had nothing to do with it. This guy's an idiot.
If you're looking for my professional opinion as ship's counselor, he's nuts.
So don't get me wrong, like Zefram Cochrane is important in the Star Trek history because he was the one that piloted the Phoenix. But as far as creating Warp Drive, no, he's not responsible for that at all. This guy was a drunken pilot. They pretty much tell you in the movie, but you have to think for yourself. But if you tell a lie over and over and over and over and over again, which they have, because if you look on fandom, if you look on Wikipedia, this guy developed Warp Drive and he's responsible for this, that, and the other. It's like, no, he's not. No, he's not. But as I said, if you tell a lie over and over and over again, it becomes the truth. So this is a clear example of black people not getting their due again. It's like they've been saying that, oh, black people don't have a history and stuff like that. No, it's a lie. You're lying about history. And the thing is that if you don't think for yourself, it'll pass you by. And that movie is a classic example. They're telling you stuff, but you have to think for yourself. And it's the same thing with documentaries. Some documentaries, they're telling you important information, but you have to read between the lines because there's a lie there. And there's also truth mixed in with the lie. You understand? And it's just so annoying, but you have to decode it. And once you decode it, you realize that, no, this guy is a fraud. You understand? As far as being a pilot, fine, he's a pilot. Yes, we all know he's a pilot, but as far as developing Warp Drive, no way. No way. they really need to change the history and Wikipedia, fandom, Star Trek history. It has to be changed because this is ridiculous.
Your theories on warp drive allow fleets of starships to be built, and mankind to start exploring the galaxy.
It unites humanity in a way that no one ever thought possible when they realize they're not alone in the universe. Poverty, disease, war, they'll all be gone within the next 50 years.
But unless you make that warp flight tomorrow morning, before 11:15, none of it will happen.
See that? She designed it, plus built the warp drive. But yet, Zefram Cochrane gets the credit.
How big is this ship?
There are 24 decks. Almost 700 meters long.
It took me 6 months to scrounge up enough titanium just to build a 4-meter cockpit.
Work to better ourselves. And the rest of humanity. Actually, we're rather like yourself and Dr. Cochrane.
Yeah, I would scream too if I get pushed to the back and this guy, this drunken pilot, gets all the credit. And did you see that? She laughed when he said like Dr. Cochrane. It's like Dr. Cochrane. She laughed. She's like looked at him like Dr. Cochrane, and she started laughing. So that's clear indication that this guy, like, you don't know who this guy is. You think, and she's not even aware of the history. That's interesting. She's not aware of the history that he gets the credit and she doesn't. But when he said Dr. Cochrane, she looks at him and then she starts laughing. And what? Dr. Cochrane? Are you serious?
I tried to reconstruct the intermix chamber from what I remember in school. Tell me if I got it right.
School? You learned about this in school?
Oh, yeah. Basic warp design is a required course at the Academy. The first chapter is called Zefram Cochrane.
Well, looks like you got it right.
Yeah, this guy is such a fraud. He knows nothing about warp drive technology. Obviously she does, but the thing is that, you know, it's named after him. It's like, yes, he's a pilot. Yes, he's responsible. He's the first one that did the fastest speeds, like faster than light speeds. He's the first one. But the thing is that he's not responsible for warp drive. Not at all. He knows nothing about it. It's so obvious in the movie. It's so obvious in the movie, but you still see it written in Wikipedia, fandom. There's people who still talk about Zefram Cochrane. He's the one that developed warp drive, and like clearly, it's not him. It's clearly not him.
Dr. Cochrane, I know this sounds silly, but can I shake your hand? Thank you, Doctor. I can't tell you what an honor it is to work with you on this project. I never
Reg.
imagined that I'd be meeting the man who invented warp drive.
Reg!
I'm sorry. Right. Thanks.
You could so tell in his face that he had nothing to do with warp drive. You could tell. It's his partner, Lily Sloane. She's the one that's responsible for it, but he doesn't even say anything. He's just going along with the flow. He feels guilty about it. Yeah, it seems like he feels guilty about it, but also, and I think in the back of his mind, he's thinking that, yeah, I can make a lot of money off of this. If they think I'm the one that's responsible, I can make a lot of money off this, because that's his motivation, is money. You understand? So he's just not saying that, hey, my partner had something to do with this. It's mainly her. I'm just a pilot. But he's not saying it because, you know, it's typical of pushing black people in the background and saying that, oh, we didn't do anything in history because this is what's been done throughout history. I know I'm bringing up race and stuff like that, but that's exactly what has been done throughout our history. Black people didn't do anything. You couldn't have built ships to travel anywhere. You couldn't have built civilizations. White people did everything. It's like, it's a huge lie. And he's perpetrating a lie. He's just going along with the flow and he's not saying anything. The black woman is the one that developed warp drive, not him.
You know, I wish I had a picture of this.
What?
Well, you see, in the future, this whole area becomes an historical monument. You're standing almost on the exact spot where your statue's gonna be.
Statue?
Oh, yeah. It's marble, about 20 meters tall, and you're looking up at the sky, and your hands sort of reaching toward the future.
I gotta take a leak.
Now, this scene is interesting because she goes and she sits in the captain's chair. because she's the one that's responsible for all this, because she's the one that developed warp drive. You could find any kind of pilot, but of course, a person developing warp drive technology, that's difficult to find. That's very difficult to find, but it just so happens that Zefram Cochrane had to be there with her, and they were partners, and he was obviously the only pilot there, because he was a drunk, man. It's just like, that's all I have to deal with. This is all I have to deal with, so it's like, well, whatever. But no, she's responsible for a lot of the Federation, but the thing is that she's not in the history books, really. It's mainly Zefram Cochrane. It's just ridiculous. It's just like our history now. It's just completely whitewashed, that white people did everything. It's like, that's not the case. A whole history has to be revamped, right? Because if you tell a lie over and 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 over again, people tend to believe it. I mean, like, you could watch this, because it is canon. Definitely. If Star Trek, whatever Star Trek episode comes on, it's canon. So this is canon. So those people who say it's not canon, like, you know what you're talking about. This is canon. Okay? This is clearly canon. If the movies are canon. Okay? And she is responsible for warp drive. A black woman. But of course, like our real history, they whitewash the history. It's such a shame, and it's pathetic.